James Skrmetta Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Here, recording on a Tuesday, guys, I came into the studio with my normal, packed list of topics. I had stuff to fill 5 hours of a show. I was going to cram it into 30 minutes like only I can do. But after reading Facebook and Twitter all day, I am forced to totally change the show. I am forced to totally change what I wanted to do. We are going to dedicate this entire show, however long it may be, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 days, whatever. We're going to dedicate the entire thing to this United Airlines story with Dr. David Dao. If you don't know the story, you will learn all about it in this show. And more importantly, you won't have to filter through the ridiculous posts on social media that I'm sure you've seen. You will know exactly what to think. You will know the best take, the smartest take, and the right take. That way when you go into work tomorrow and all your coworkers are talking about this, you can stand there, puff your chest out, hold your chin up high, and you can repeat just what I said. Don't let them know where you got it. I'm sure they're listening anyways, but don't let them know where you got this information. Don't let them know where you got these takes. Pass it off as your own. Then your boss will overhear it, give you a promotion, you'll get a new office, maybe a new car. Your life has all new meaning. Why? Because you clicked play, and I appreciate that. So all I ask for in return is a rate and review. A 5-star rating. Why do I ask for a 5-star rating? Because there's not a 6-star rating. If there was a 6-star, I'd ask for that. But there's just a 5-star. So help your boy out, 5-star rating and review. Let's do this thing. I'm not going to beat around the bush. We're not talking about anything else. We're not getting involved in anything else. We're diving straight into this story. Here's the background. Here's what you need to know. On a United Airlines flight, they had to remove some people because 4 crew members from another flight had to join this flight. Okay? Happens all the time. So they had to get 4 people off of the plane. Dr. David Dao, 69 years old, former doctor from Kentucky, was one of the people. He resisted. I ain't moving. Paraphrasing. I'm not getting off this damn plane. So they keep asking. He keeps resisting. This guy ain't getting off the plane. So they get the security involved. The plane's got to leave. This guy's not leaving. Plane's got to leave. Irresistible force or immovable object type situation. Something's got to give. So 3 security guards get in there, and it gets a little hostile. They end up ripping the guy out of the seat. He hits a armrest. He's bleeding from the mouth. They drag him. If you haven't seen the footage, there's plenty of cell phone footage. This is 2017. Go find it. It's not graphic, but it's jarring. You're seeing a grown man, 69 years old, dragged down an aisle, blood coming out of his mouth. He's screaming and wailing the whole time. So that's it. That's the situation. That's the initial situation. And of course, the outrage has been that this guy was assaulted, this guy was profiled, this guy doesn't deserve this, this is a terrible way to treat people. United is basically a fight club with wings. Terrible stuff. So then it comes out a little bit more. The story evolves. The story develops. Turns out this fella, former doctor, in 2003, he was arrested as part of an undercover operation. 2 years later, this is all from people.com, Dao was convicted on 6 felony counts of obtaining drugs by fraud and deceit, and in 2005, he was sentenced to 5 years probation. Dao was also convicted for writing prescriptions and checks to a male patient in exchange for sexual favors. And in February of 2005, he surrendered his license to practice medicine in Kentucky. So that happened. So then that part comes out, and people are like, oh, geez, this guy's got quite the checkered past. But then other people are like, whoa. Why are we destroying this guy's reputation? Hasn't he gone through enough? Hasn't this guy been through the ringer enough? And now you're going to write this hit piece on him? Now you're going to try and destroy his credibility? Luckily, I am here to let you guys know exactly what's going on. So let's start at the beginning. Why did this guy get removed off of the plane? Was it profiling? No. Here's what happens. Planes overbook legally all the time. Why do they overbook? Because of no-shows. Because they don't know who's actually going to be on the plane. They don't know if people are going to show up, if they're not going to show up. So they overbook flights. Happens all the time. If all the people show up and the crew are they need to remove some people, they do a thing called a voluntary deboard. Voluntarily, people will give up their seats for cash, or not cash, but vouchers, right? They can offer up to, I think, $2,000, something like that. They can offer up to about $2,000 in vouchers for a flight in a better seated area. Maybe you were sitting in coach. Maybe now it's a first class if you just get off and wait 5 or 6 hours, whatever. That's voluntary deboarding, okay? That's when people basically sell their seat, take on a little inconvenience, but everyone's cool and everyone makes out. If no one voluntarily deboards, they can't just fly the plane. They can't be like, hey, does anybody want to sell their seat? No big deal, man. Let's get this sucker in the air. The planes are under strict regulation. They have to have a certain amount of people on there, certain amount of crew, certain amount of pilots, certain amount of luggage, weight, whatever. This is a really tight, intricate situation. So if no one voluntarily deboards, they still have to get people off. So the next step is an algorithm set across all of the travel commission where they look at the information, ticket price, the seat, the connected flights, where they're going, all that stuff. And then they determine through the algorithm, it's not a random drawing, it's not everyone put your name in a bucket and we'll pull it out. Whoever has the longest straw has to get off. Through an algorithm or a formula, they find the people who are selected for an involuntary deboard. And just like it sounds, if you're selected, there's no question. You got to get off the flight. You got to go. Now, they still will give you, $800 or so of a voucher, or depending on when your flight is, they'll put you in a hotel. So they're not just kicking you to the curb and making you sit on the sidewalk until the next flight. It is involuntary to the point of you don't get a choice of if you can accept it or not. Whereas voluntary, obviously, you can choose to do this. And they open the voluntary up to the whole plane. The whole plane gets the choice. So they asked the whole plane if anyone would give up their seat, and no one would. Then they'd go to the involuntary situation. They get to this guy. He ain't moving. He's not going. He's resisting the security, resisting the plane's requests. So like I said previously, the plane has to move. It has to go. Something has to be done. Now, this is the part that's really important. This is the foundation for this entire argument. He had to get off the plane, and he would not. So they had to do something. They had to forcibly remove him off the plane. That's the bottom line. So that eliminates all of this guy was unjustly beaten, he was unjustly got taken off the plane. He wasn't. He was removed because he was resisting. The plane had to leave. Security got involved. In any walk of life, in any business, any place, if you resist when people are trying to get you somewhere, it's going to get physical. Go to your local Ruby Tuesdays. Whenever they ask you to leave, do whatever you got to do. Stay until closing, flip over some tables, whatever. Get them to ask you to leave, and then don't leave. You know what's going to happen? They're going to call the police. The police is going to come, and if you resist them, you're going to get tased, pepper sprayed, or just dragged out of there. And that's what happened to this guy. He got dragged out of there. And yes, it is a jarring video. But most videos are when you're watching a very physical altercation between a security or a policeman and someone from the public. Most are. But this guy wasn't selected because he was Chinese. This guy wasn't just eeny, meeny, miny, mo, oops, you're picked, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. This guy was doing his part. He was resisting. He was sitting there saying, I'm not moving, and you're going to have to drag me off this plane. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to drag you off this plane. 100%. So do I think that United was in their rights to drag this guy off the plane? Yes, I do. Because he was asked to leave. Is it an inconvenience that he had to get off? Yeah, hell yeah, it is. Isn't it an inconvenience to be involuntary or selected for an involuntary deboard? Yes, no one is denying that. But you can't just resist. You can't just say, nah, screw that, I'm staying. No, you're not. This is an involuntary deboard. That first word, very important. Involuntary. You don't get You don't. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. You got to go. And this is something that the planes do. This is a right that when you buy a ticket, this is what you are buying. This is part of the fine print. This is part of the game. Now, this is probably a pretty rare occurrence, right? No. Over 40,000 people were involuntarily deboarded last year. 40,000. That's not even counting the voluntary. That's not even counting the people who are like, yeah, I'll switch, whatever. Give me $500 and a better seat and whatever. Involuntarily deboarded. 40-something thousand last year. How many times did you see a video of someone getting dragged off of a plane? Not many. Why? Because not many people resisted and latched onto their chair and said, come and get me, sucker. I ain't moving. You know how many people probably left bars and restaurants last year? And how many people were thrown out of bars and restaurants last year? The people that were thrown out of bars and restaurants, more than likely, were resisting their request to leave. This isn't rocket science. This isn't a reason to be offended. This isn't a reason to go up in arms. This isn't a reason to be like, social justice warriors. Let's get our fingers on them keyboards. This guy was abused. No, he wasn't. This guy resisted. This guy was holding up the plane. This guy had a clear request. Hey, fella, I know this sucks, but you are involuntarily being deboarded. GTFO. And he decided not to. So you get repercussions. You can't just go through life and go through these situations and do whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want. Totally, irregardless of other people or irregardless of a business or where you are or what you're doing. You can't do it. And there are repercussions. And that's where security came in. And the second security got there, he should have been like, well, what are you going to do? But I got to leave. Just because he was inconvenienced and didn't want to leave, too bad. Too damn bad. Now, I've seen people on social media saying, well, what if he really needed to be on that plane? Doesn't matter. He really needed to be off the plane because he was selected. The plane had to leave. There are other people on that flight. What if those people had to be somewhere? And this guy's sitting there holding everything up because he's throwing a fit because he's in a terrible situation. He's being inconvenienced. I am 100% agreeing with that. That it's not fun to be involuntarily deboarded. What I want you to understand is that you cannot resist in that situation or any situation like this. Wherever you are being asked to leave, leave. Just because you feel like you shouldn't have to leave doesn't mean you can stay. I was, this past week, or 2 weekends ago, I was a DD for somebody who was at a casino, and he was asked to leave. He was asked to go because he had had too much to drink. I mean, he had been drinking, but I don't know if he had that much to drink. So he had an argument that he probably could have stayed. And he thought the reason that they were kicking him out is because he was winning too much money at this casino. And this guy thinks that he was being chosen because he's Chinese. Now, the guy at the casino that I'm DDing for, they had 3 or 4 security guards around them, and it was about to get pretty nasty. Police were about to get called. He was kicking and screaming and cursing and whatever. And if I wouldn't have been there, the person saying, I'm his ride, I'll get him out of there, he would have been thrown out. And then police would have came and arrested him. And if he would have resisted the arrest, he would have gotten, it wouldn't have been pretty. This isn't just an isolated incident. This is anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. So I'm not really sure why so many people are claiming this guy as a victim. The only thing that he's a victim of is throwing a fit, resisting, and then getting physically thrown out. This happens. What do you expect to happen? No one is ever going to say, you know what, man? You're resisting pretty hard. We're going to let you stay. You've shown a lot of heart. You've shown a lot of gusto to stay in your seat. We're going to let you stay. Ma'am, you need to leave unless you can show the same bravado that this guy showed. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. This is a simple formula. Resist equals thrown the F out. I'm not sure why people think this guy deserved anything less. Now, is it unfortunate that he hit his head on an armrest or whatever and bloodied his lip? Yeah, that sucks. No doubt about it. But you want to know why that happened? Because he's resisting. He's resisting. They tried to talk him out of it. They tried to talk him into, hey, man, can you just leave? No. All right, well, we're going to have to throw you out. We're going to have to get you off here, forcibly remove you. So you're in an aisleway. There's people everywhere. If part of you bangs up against something, you kind of lose your comfort rights whenever you're being tossed out of somewhere. So then the next part of this whole thing is the drugs, the backstory. First of all, goodness. Let me say that I think it's irrelevant. Whether this guy is a criminal, former felon, whether he's a practicing doctor, whether he's a brain surgeon, whether he's a mayoral candidate, doesn't matter. What matters is he's resisting. He's got to get off the plane. That's it. That's the whole thing. And now, in the day and age that we live in, part of the viral story thing, unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. When you're in the spotlight, people will find out all about you. And yeah, it does suck that the person that they picked, and the person that resisted, and the person that got thrown out of the plane, and the person that got recorded and became viral was a former felon who was part of a prescription drug, sex, crazy scandal thing. Yeah, it sucks. But the idea that he is being unfairly portrayed, or or the media is ruining his life, or the media is, painting him in this light. We didn't do that stuff. Saying, "Oh, well, I can't believe y'all are ruining his good name." What? I didn't trade pills for sexual favors. At least not in 2003. I didn't do this. What are you talking about? We? What do you mean? What do you mean I am dragging his name? What do you mean that I'm ruining his reputation? This guy ruined his reputation. The felon, the guy who had 96 counts of this stuff. The guy who was trading prescriptions and checks for sexual favors. You mean that guy? You mean I'm ruining his reputation? You mean I'm ruining his life? What? What kind of crazy, deranged mindset do you have to be in to where you think that this guy is a victim because people have found out about his past where he was basically a pill-swapping sex fiend? What? He's the victim? What? This guy resisting to get off of a plane, selfishly sitting on a plane, strapping in, locking in, saying, "Come get me, suckers." This guy is a victim because he got removed off of the plane for resisting, and then because his past is a little checkered. No, I don't think so. I think this sounds just about right. I think this dots all the I's and crosses all the T's. Should he have been thrown off the plane? Yes. Now that he's a big, huge news person or part of the news, is it okay that his past is being brought up? Yeah. Is it anyone's fault besides his own that he was part of a sex trading prescription scandal? Nope, that's his fault 100%. This is all falling on old Dr. Dao. Dr. Dao looking pretty rough right now. Didn't mean to rhyme, but you know how this brain works. So that's the two main takeaways from this, is people saying that he shouldn't have been removed from the flight, which he should have, pretty obviously. I'm not sure how that's even an argument. And that his past, or talking about his past, or bringing up his past, is some kind of defamation of character. No, that's how the cookie crumbles. That's how this works. You become part of the media, or part of the news. I keep saying part of the media. You become part of the news cycle. They're going to dig. They're going to find your past. They're going to figure out who the hell you are. Who is this guy? Who is this guy now that's on every network in America and most around the world? Who is this guy making huge news? What's his name? Where does he work? How old is he? Where is he from? Google search. Boop, 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 boop. Go into the Google machine. Pops out. Oh my God. Sex prescription scandal. Nobody made that up. Steven Spielberg didn't write this script. This is just this guy. You know what would have stopped all this? Hey, man, we're going to need you to leave. Man, for real, I got to leave? Yeah, man, sorry, but it's an involuntary D-board. You got to leave. Okay. And get up, walk your ass out. That stops everything. Your lip's not bloodied. Your prescription sex scandal's not on the TV. And you wait a day for a flight, and you go wherever you got to go. That's it. So it sounds to me like this guy's not the victim, but he's the whole damn reason this thing started. Entire reason. So I guess the bottom line is that this fella right here doesn't deserve any sympathy besides the fact that it does suck to be inconvenienced, and it does suck to have your lip busted. But if I get thrown out of a restaurant and I scrape my knees getting launched out by the bouncers, it's on me. And the real question is, where in the hell was Kendall Jenner with some damn Pepsi to solve all this? That's the real question. We're going to wrap this up, guys. That was a little rant action. I got a little hot. I get a little... I talk all the time. We try and have fun on the show. We try and cut up, talk about some fun stories. But this is one of those weeks where I don't know if people are just ready for the holiday weekend or what, but it seems like everyone's just turned into a bunch of idiots. And so I have to come in and wrangle everybody up and straighten everything out. And this story is one of them. I don't want to hear any more about this story. I don't want to argue about nothing. This story, as far as I'm concerned, is over. This story, done. We've said what we've had to say. You understand it now, I'm hoping better. You understand the whole backstory. You understand the repercussions. You understand the rules, why he was thrown off, what his options were, all that stuff. You get it all. If, for some reason, you don't agree with what I said, or you think that I'm overlooking something, no show on the planet respects other people's opinions more than me. I want you on the show. I want to read your tweets. I want to read your comments. I'll have you on the show if you're down in the area. I will have you. I have 3 microphones in this giant studio. 3 mics. This is 1. 2 more microphones. So if you have something to say or you think that this is wrong, please come voice your opinion right here in the studio. Send a tweet if you're far away. Send a letter. I don't care. I will read it and respond to it right here in front of the millions. So guys, that is it. Thank you very much for listening. If you made it this far, you are an absolute angel. If you're new to the show, go ahead and subscribe. We're pumping out this kind of stuff Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You cannot find this kind of content anywhere else. I'm telling you, the local hacks that they have pumping through your car speakers, they're afraid to even attempt to do what we're doing on a daily basis. So thanks again, guys. This has been the James Skrmetta Show.